Blake and I talked about this, where we are introducing a new topic to our show where we go through position by position in the NFL and name what player we feel is the most underrated. Last time we streamed, we did quarterbacks. Blake picked Ryan Tannehill. I picked Baker Mayfield. And this week with Grant Cohn, I mean, we thought we would do running backs, and we put Grant on the spot a little bit. But when he said at the beginning of the show he has a name, it was for this topic. So without further ado, what everybody's been waiting for, Grant, who is the most underrated running back in the NFL in your opinion?
Okay, all right. This is a really good question. I'm going with this guy. I feel like the way the NFL has evolved, it devalues running backs who are pure runners. You got to be a receiver as well. And this guy isn't necessarily a tremendous route runner, but I consider him the hardest running runner in the league, the most vicious runner in the league. He led the league in yards after contact last year. Ronald Jones. He's kind of like an afterthought in the Tampa Bay offense because Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, but Ronald Jones averaged 5.1 yards per carry last year. He's vicious. I mean, imagine if he were on the Seahawks. He's exactly the kind of running back that they love to have. I think he's a top 10 running back in the league. I think he's a hell of a player. So Ronald Jones, that's my guy.
Blake, thoughts on Ronald Jones?
I know
you mentioned him to me.
That was one of my top 3 guys who I was actually going to save before I chose my actual person. So, yeah, I love Ronald Jones. I remember he had a ton of hype. I think he came out of FSU.
USC.
I was thinking I think he was FSU. But Ronald Jones, awesome. You mentioned Grant, kind of an afterthought because they have way too many mouths to feed, and Leonard Fournette kind of went off. But during the regular season, it was mainly Ronald Jones who was the lead guy, and he is really good after contact. I mean,
violent.
He was very big. And he also has breakaway speed too.
Yeah.
He had a 98-yard touchdown, and you can't do that if you can only run 40 yards fast. So, yeah, he can do it all. If he was the lead back on the team, I would be very interested to see what numbers he could put up in a 16, 17 game season.
So I love that you went with Ronald Jones, especially because Blake was hyping him up to me earlier today. He's like, no, Ronald Jones is underrated. And I thought about it, and you guys are right. He is very underrated. So just a couple of quick thoughts. First thing is, if you remember when he came out of SC, his comparison that everybody said who he reminded them like was Jamal Charles, right? A guy who was kind of like a scat back, really quick feet, really fast, really agile. And his rookie year was horrendous. He was terrible. He averaged 1.9 yards per carry. He couldn't get on the field. He was horrible. People thought he was a bust automatically. Then his second year came, and with Bruce Arians, Peyton Barber was the presumptive starter. But Ronald Jones changed his body. He became a big dude.
He certainly did.
He became a big dude. If you remember, Grant, week 1, Tampa Bay was able to run the football, especially after Quan Alexander got hurt against the 49ers very effectively. And the guy who ran the ball very effectively in that football game was Ronald Jones. He played phenomenal in that game. And then obviously it grew and he got better. They threw the ball way too much in 19, so it didn't truly highlight his skill set. But last year, he was unbelievable when it came to running the ball. He ran so physically. He ran so hard. I love that you mentioned that he's the hardest runner in the NFL. And to me, it's just a testament to how mentally tough he is for him to bounce back after that rookie season when everybody basically wrote him off. And
he was a joke.
Great choice.
He was a joke, was he not?
Yeah, he did not
9 yards per carry.
Rookie year.
My God. Yeah.
And people were calling it a wasted second-round pick already.
When I see him, though, I think, man, that guy is 6'2", 225, but he's not. He's like 5'11", 208. I mean, he's a little got that Jeff Wilson Jr. thing where you think he's way bigger than he is.
Yeah.
He looks like LeGarrette Blount out there. He's not even that big.
He's massive.
Yes.
He is huge.
He's huge.
And the weird thing is because his body is so well put together and because he's got incredible burst, I personally, one of the running backs I saw when I was watching Trey Sermon was Ronald Jones, given how hard they run. He's not as fast or as agile as Ronald Jones, but that initial burst, Blake loves talking about Trey Sermon's burst, but that initial burst is Ronald Jones like.
Dude, I love how Don Burr is in every comment section. What are you going to do when the game is over, man? Are you still going to be here talking when the game is over, or are you just going to go to the next team? I think it's just tremendous dedication. Tremendous dedication.
Yeah. Don Burr's the man.
You gotta respect it. And like, everyone's always mad at him. It's like he's like basically your brother at this point. You hang out with Don Burr more than your best friend. So why don't you just learn to love him?
Detroit versus everybody.
So okay, who you guys got as your most underrated?
All right, let's go to Blake. Blake, who's your most underrated running back in the NFL?
All right, so this is a guy, NFC East. He played against the Niners this year in an infamous Sunday night game early on in the year for the Eagles, and that's Miles Sanders. Averages 4.9 yards a carry. For some reason, Doug Peterson just hates giving this guy like more than 15 carries. I don't know. It's once Miles Sanders gets 15 touches, he's like, all right, we cannot let him touch the ball anymore. But super effective, really good receiver. I don't know why he doesn't get the ball more, because they don't really have good receivers whatsoever. They don't really have any weapons besides him. And he ran behind a devastated O-line last year, losing Brooks and then Dillard, I believe. We were both out. The only guy was Lane Johnson, and they get those guys back next year. So I think they'll be able to run the ball a lot more, especially with Hurts kind of taking some pressure off him in a read option game. So I like him a lot, and I think he's going to be someone who goes a little under the radar before the season starts.
By far the best athlete on that offense, no?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really.
Well, Arcega-Whiteside maybe, but.
I mean, he wasn't that much. I mean, he's like in the same class of athlete as Saquon Barkley almost, right? No.
Kind of?
I think
maybe Shady McCoy
above, but
yeah,
he's like if you downgraded everything a little bit, like he just a little bit.
But they went to the same school, no?
Yes, they did.
They went to. He went to Penn State. What about Shady McCoy? Do you think he's that agile?
Agile. I don't know if he's as shifty as Shady McCoy. Shady McCoy could cut on a dime.
Maybe in terms of speed, size, that comp. Yeah. Obviously, Shady McCoy's agility was different. But Grant, any thoughts on Miles Sanders? You got to see him live week 4 this year.
I think he's really good. I think he's been kind of held back by the fact that there's nothing on that. That team sucks. We were going through like the best rosters in the league earlier, the Niners and the Bucks. Go through the Eagles. That team is terrible. So I mean, there's not much that he can show.
Yeah. Agreed. And I actually think they have a creative run game. Like, I think Doug Peterson had a lot of variety in his run game, especially when you include that he has a lot of variety with how they run RPOs and stuff. It's just, it didn't suit, Carson Wentz, who his quarterback was. And for whatever reason, as Blake said, he didn't use Miles Sanders enough. Like, Miles Sanders' receiving ability was just an untapped potential that existed on the Philadelphia Eagles last year, but wasn't used. I mean, this was a guy who, as a rookie, was arguably their best receiver. Could we say that? Mm-hmm. Are there any Alshon Jeffrey fans, Aguilar fans in here?
They were sweet in 2017, but they were off the cliff.
And when your best receiver is your running back, you suck. It's not his fault, but you gotta have more than that, and that's where the Eagles are.
Right,
he's a hell of a player. They need more.
Right, and so in 2017, like his receiving ability, they didn't use, and I think I love the pick of Miles Sanders. He's an explosive athlete. He can house call a lot, and you talked about it. He is good in the shotgun run game. Like, not everybody's suited for that. Like Frank Gore,
great.
Right, Frank Gore, shotgun run game was never his forte, but Carlos Hyde, on the other hand, he was much better in the shotgun run game than he was under center. And so Miles Sanders is suited for the shotgun run game, and he'll be fantastic in the read option with Jalen Hurts next year. I truly believe that.
Vish, do yours. I got to leave in 3 minutes. I want to hear it.
3 minutes? I got to
leave. I got to go. Yeah.
Mine, I can't believe I'm doing this because I've already said this team is going to win the AFC next year. I picked their quarterback for the most underrated player in the NFL, but I'm going to go once again to the Cleveland Browns, who seemingly are my adopted second favorite team. And I'm going to go to Kareem Hunt, and I'm going to say he's the most underrated running back in the NFL. And so where I think Kareem Hunt gets underrated, right? Obviously, he had that horrible off-the-field incident. We don't need to get into that. But prior to that, he was looked at as one of the 5 or 6 best running backs in the NFL. After that, last year, to me, he was the same exact guy. I don't think there's a peep about Kareem Hunt as one of the 10 best running backs in the NFL.
It's like just overshadowing him. Yeah.
Right. But to me, the difference between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt as runners, Nick Chubb is obviously the better runner. I don't think it's that drastic. Kareem Hunt had 841 rushing yards last year and 6 touchdowns for about 4.2 yards a carry. Now, he's not as good a runner as Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is more explosive. Nick Chubb is better after contact. Nick Chubb has better contact balance and better patience and better vision. But Kareem Hunt is also very good in all of those areas, just not as good as Nick Chubb. where I think he separates himself, and I think he's actually better than his peer Nick Chubb in this particular area, is that he's a hell of a receiving back. He's turned into their third down running back that they line up everywhere. He's an unbelievable wide receiver. I mean, last year he had 5 receiving touchdowns, 38 catches. I mean, for a team that's loaded with receiving options, 3 good tight ends, 3 or 4 good receivers. The fact that you have 38 catches and 5 touchdowns from a running back to me is impressive. If you go down the list, to me, there's no reason why Kareem Hunt, you can say he's not one of the 10 best running backs in the NFL. Like, Grant, you mentioned that you think Ronald Jones is. To me, Kareem Hunt is definitely one of the 10 best running backs in the NFL. Obviously, his off-field incident was horrific, but at the same time, I don't understand why the dialogue or the conversation around this guy is now like, oh, he's
Who thinks better, Kareem Hunt or Ronald Jones?
I think Kareem Hunt's better.
I think it's close. I think it's close.
It is very close.
To me, the receiving puts, because Ronald Jones isn't the greatest of receivers, but Kareem Hunt's a very good one.
I can see that. Guys, I gotta go. Sorry to do that, but this was a lot of fun. Let's do it again. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to something called the Colombo Club. It's an Italian men's club. My mom's Italian, so my brother signed up. He was my half brother on my mom's side, and it's an Italian men's club, and you go and like eat pasta and stuff. It's mostly people in their 70s and 80s, but we go and have a good time. So peace.
Have a great time, Grant. We'll definitely get you on soon. I'll see you Monday, but we definitely got to get you on sometime next week.
Of course, always a pleasure.
Packers.
Definitely. All right, guys, take care.
See you. Thank you.
Well.
Oh.